I, 16-year-old female, have a phone, and my little sister, 13-year-old female, does not. Not explicitly anyway. Before now, I have always let her use my phone. She's always known the password. I never locked any apps or restricted the time she spent on it unless I needed to use my phone in that moment. Basically, I gave her full access with no sort of restrictions, except that she is not allowed to text my friends or look at the texts I send people. So this was going fine. I wouldn't snoop through her contacts, and I assumed she wasn't snooping through mine. Except she was. And she's been reporting back to my parents for the past 3 years. I was pissed and not okay with it, so I banned her from using it. I told my parents they could have the password because I'm not allowed to lock it from them, which I'm not really comfortable with, but it is what it is. So I just keep my phone on me at all times and delete things to avoid snooping. But they cannot tell my sister it. But they told her the password over and over again, so I had enough and changed the password to one that my parents don't know either. Now my parents are extremely mad at me and have confiscated my phone. They are going to buy my sister her own phone that I won't be allowed to use and not let me have one until I have graduated college. Apparently, I was jeopardizing her safety because how would she call someone if she needed to? And she goes tutoring half a block away and apparently needs the notes on my phone, which is funny because there are no notes on my phone but my own. I do not think I'm putting her in any danger. She has my father's old phone, an iPhone 7 he used for half a month before he got a better one. So it's not like she has a Nokia she can't figure out how to use. And she has most of her study materials and contacts on there. So I really don't see the issue. But I'm being punished, and all of the older people in my family have told me I'm being really selfish and ungrateful and difficult about this, and that the phone isn't even mine, it's my parents', and I am simply borrowing it, like I'm borrowing everything else in this house. They're also mad because I refuse to tell anyone the password, and they're angry that I'm endangering my sister like this, all because I supposedly have an addiction. So, am I the idiot for not giving my sister my phone and changing my password so that nobody knows it? Edit. Thank you for all of your opinions and also your kindness. I don't really know what to say to reply to you guys, but thank you. Apparently this isn't a normal situation, and a lot of people are saying it's abuse, and I don't know how to feel about that. It feels like it can't be that bad, but it seems like it is. Thank you to everyone who offered to help and gave me advice. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and sorry for being clueless, aflol. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. When I was a teenager, my mum used to say things like, "It's my phone that I paid for. You just get to use it because I say so." Or "This is my house that I let you live in." And this gives me defensive issues to this day about ownership of possessions. She has taken accountability for this, she has apologized, and she is now much more aware of the impact of her words. But she was still the AH, a stance she agrees with. Comment 2. Not the idiot. That's an invasion of your privacy from your sister and your parents. Will they snoop through your sister's new phone too? If not, then that screams favoritism. And also the hypocrisy of, your sister needs your phone to call someone in an emergency. But then confiscating your phone? How would you call in an emergency? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm here to spill the tea on the latest drama in my life. Buckle up, because this update is a wild ride. So, after my parents took my phone away, things got even more intense. Remember how I mentioned my sister was getting her own phone? Well, turns out, she had it all along. She's been pretending she didn't have one to keep using mine, and to keep spying on me for my parents. I found out when I caught her texting on a brand new phone that was hidden in her room. I couldn't believe she'd been lying to me this whole time. But wait, it gets crazier. I confronted her about it, and she broke down and confessed everything. She told me she felt guilty, but was scared of our parents. They had been pressuring her to keep tabs on me, promising her rewards like the new phone and more freedom. I was shocked. My own sister, who I trusted, had been betraying me for years. I was furious, not just with her, but with my parents too. They had been manipulating both of us, playing us against each other. I felt so betrayed. I thought my sister and I were close, but this secret she'd been keeping blew that all apart. Now, let's rewind a bit to give you some context. My sister and I used to be inseparable. We shared everything, from clothes to secrets. I never would have imagined she could do something like this. But looking back, there were signs. She'd ask me weird questions about my friends or where I was going, stuff she never cared about before. I just thought she was being a typical nosy little sister. I never suspected she was reporting back to our parents. And my parents, well, they've always been strict, but I didn't realize how controlling they were until now. They've always monitored what I do, who I talk to, and where I go. I guess I just got used to it and didn't see how abnormal it was until you all pointed it out in your comments. Back to the present, after the confrontation with my sister, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I couldn't trust my sister or my parents anymore, so I started finding ways to communicate with my friends without a phone. I borrowed a friend's old iPod Touch and used Wi-Fi to message them. It wasn't ideal, but it worked. Then, another surprise dropped. My best friend, who I've known since kindergarten, told me she had been getting weird messages from my sister. My sister had been using my phone to pretend to be me and was trying to get information out of my friends about me. I was beyond upset. My best friend was hurt too, feeling like she couldn't trust me anymore. I had to do damage control. I explained everything to my friend, and thankfully she understood. We had a long talk about everything that had been going on, and she agreed to help me keep my communications secret from my family. But the drama didn't stop there. My parents found out about the iPod Touch. They were livid. They accused me of being sneaky and untrustworthy. I tried to explain that I needed some privacy and that I didn't feel safe sharing everything with them anymore, especially after what they had done with my sister. The argument that followed was intense. Voices were raised and harsh words were exchanged. I stood my ground, though. I told them that their lack of trust in me and their invasion of my privacy was the real problem, not my so-called addiction to my phone. In the end, they didn't budge. They're still holding on to my phone, and now they're monitoring my sister's phone usage even more closely. They've also cut down on my internet time at home, making it harder for me to stay in touch with my friends. It's been a tough couple of weeks, to say the least. I feel isolated from my friends and betrayed by my family. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this new reality where I can't even trust my own sister. It's a mess, and I'm just trying to get through it day by day. Stepdad locks me out of house for not closing garage door properly and not paying my phone bill. But then I pay it off and tell him I want to go back to college. Oh boy, we find out I'm pregnant. This is not the first time we've made requests of my adult, intelligent stepdaughter, who's working as a server living with us the last 9 months after dropping out of college. She's usually the last one home at night, and closing the door between the driveway and garage has become a challenge. Several, 5-6 times in the last 12 weeks, it is inches ajar the next day. There is no mechanical impediment to it closing. Recently I explained in cold weather, mice, vermin/skunk are likely to come in and nest. We asked her to close and lock the door, hoping this would help follow through. Working long hours, we often don't see her for more than a few minutes in a day. We've taken to texting photos of the messes left behind. She's a grade A slob, asking for her help/consideration. She constantly apologizes without modifying her behavior, to the point where my wife, her mom, told her some weeks back, "I don't believe you. I don't believe you are sorry because you are not modifying your behavior." I began using this terminology myself. This resulted in occasions where I sent photos of problems only for them to be ignored. When confronted, we got the reply, "Well, I didn't know what to say, because if I said I was sorry, you wouldn't believe it, so I just said nothing." We let her know that no reply was worse than any other option at all. She's been on our phone bill paying $15 a month for unlimited everything with a top-tier carrier. The best phone deal anyone could have, but required nudging many months for payment. Again, she is currently making $1,000+ a week. It has been made clear to her that not responding to our texts and/or not staying current with her bill will result in dropping her from the plan. My wife has been out of town this week, and we've had a really good week. I've been taking favorite dinner requests from her for the night she has been home. Low drama. Wednesday morning is literally freezing where we live, and the garage door is open again. I text her a photo captioned "Annoying. Go work out," and she's gone when I get home. I do not get any text response all day. Nothing. As the third parent in the mix, my vote has probably rightly only ever carried little weight, but after suggesting she wasn't ready to go to college and being overruled, and the following day suggesting it again when she was suddenly $4,400 short since the prior day, overruled again. You see the pattern here? No consequences. Ever. I have stated that a different approach is the only way to get a different result. So I lock the door, and she can't get in. Instead of arriving home at 10, she gets home at midnight. I'm fast asleep. She can't get in and sleeps at friends. Note we live somewhere very safe. I knew she had multiple friend options, and that's what actually happened. I told her she needs to get her own phone bill. She's off ours. Wife is livid with me. So am I the idiot. P.S. Daughter's attitude is fine. She requested salmon for dinner tonight. I'm off to make it right now. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Closing the door between the driveway and garage has become a challenge. Several, 5-6 times in the last 12 weeks. It is inches ajar the next day. There is no mechanical impediment to it closing. Have you considered installing a mechanically assisted closing mechanism? Comment 2. So, I lock the door so she can't get in. 1. She's an adult. 2. You're an adult. 3. You're both behaving like children. Seems like problematic behavior from both of you. 5. Good God, don't lock people out of the house just because you're pissed off at her. 6. Everyone sucks here. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a rough couple of weeks since then, and boy, do I have an update for you. So after the whole garage door saga, things took a turn for the worse. My stepdaughter, let's call her Sarah, didn't take kindly to being locked out of the house. She's always been headstrong, a trait she probably got from her mom, my wife. I remember when Sarah was younger, she'd insist on doing things her way, even if it meant learning the hard way. Like that time she was determined to fix her own bike chain and ended up covered in grease. Anyway, back to the present. The morning after she slept at her friend's place, Sarah came home with a storm cloud over her head. She didn't say a word to me, just stomped off to her room. I thought, okay, maybe she just needs some time to cool off. But then, things started to escalate. For the next few days, Sarah was nowhere to be seen. She'd come home late, after I'd gone to bed, and leave before I woke up. It was like living with a ghost. My wife, who had returned from her trip, was caught in the middle. She's always been the peacemaker, trying to smooth things over between Sarah and me. But this time, she was torn. She understood why I was frustrated, but she also felt for Sarah. Then came the bombshell. I was checking our phone bill, which Sarah was supposed to be off by now, and I noticed a bunch of charges I didn't recognize. Long-distance calls, extra data usage, you name it. Turns out, Sarah hadn't switched over to her own plan and was racking up costs on ours. When I confronted her about it, she just shrugged and said she forgot. That's when I lost it. I told her she had until the end of the week to pay up or find a new place to live. My wife was horrified. She reminded me of the promise we made to always support Sarah, even when she dropped out of college. We had been her safety net, and now I was threatening to take that away. The tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Sarah was barely speaking to us, and my wife was giving me the cold shoulder. I started to wonder if I had gone too far. But then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more strained, Sarah dropped a surprise of her own. She came to us with a check in hand, enough to cover the phone bill, and then some. She said she'd been saving up, working extra shifts at the restaurant. She wanted to prove she could be responsible. My wife and I were stunned. It was the first time Sarah had taken initiative like this, without being pushed. But that wasn't all. Sarah had another piece of news. She had applied to go back to college. She wanted to finish her degree, something we had always hoped she would do. My wife was over the moon, and even I had to admit, I was proud of her. Things were starting to look up. Or so we thought. Sarah's newfound responsibility seemed to be a turning point for us. We started having family dinners again, talking about her plans for the future. It felt like we were finally getting back on track. Then, last night, everything came crashing down. I came home from work to find Sarah and my wife in the middle of a heated argument. Voices were raised, and there were tears. I couldn't believe it. Just when we thought we had moved past the drama, here it was again. The reason for the fight? Sarah had been seeing someone, a guy she met at the restaurant, and she was pregnant. My wife felt betrayed that Sarah hadn't told us sooner, and Sarah was defensive, saying she didn't know how to bring it up. I was in shock. This was the last thing any of us expected. Now we're all trying to process this news. My wife is worried about Sarah's future, and I'm trying to figure out how to support my stepdaughter through this. It's a lot to take in. And we're all reeling from the revelation. Mill moves into my home with her friends and refuses to leave. Oh boy, she won't like what I do. Next, Aita, 26 years old female, recently moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, 25 years old male, Austin. We lived together before, but now we have a guest room. I work from home, so my home is also my office. Austin is an only child, raised by his single mom, 54 years old female Emery. He adores his mom to the end of the earth, and she can do no wrong in his eyes. She left him living alone for months when he was 16 or 17 because she moved in with a boyfriend, and I think my boyfriend wants to make up for lost time. Emery recently visited us for 16 days, arriving 3 days after we moved in. During her trip, I realized that 16 days was way past my comfort zone. I particularly struggled with this because Emery shows zero interest in getting to know me. This was my 3rd time meeting her. With it being just the 3 of us for the first time, I realized that she barely acknowledged me. All questions and comments were directed at Austin. Body language, eye contact, etc. She was very closed off toward me. We brought her to a friend's house for Christmas, and she acted like a different person. She was very talkative, bubbly, and charming with all of the friends present, and she had met them all that day. Being her son's first girlfriend in 10 years, I thought she would want to get to know me, but all questions about me were asked behind my back. One of my gay male friends FaceTimed me, and I overheard her ask Austin who I was on the phone with. I mentioned getting my antidepressants refilled, and later she asked Austin, why does she take antidepressants? What trauma does she have? One of the first nights, she complained that she wasn't sitting next to Austin when I was sitting next to her. I felt self-conscious about my seat placement in my own home after that. I had a fight with Austin due to Emery having her friends fly in to stay with us and misinforming us about the length of their stay. She overheard, so I apologized, and she did not speak a single word to me in my own home for 4 days. Austin and I discussed the burning question: should there be a maximum duration for guests in our house? This would apply to all guests. I think 5 days is generous, and in our state, a guest legally becomes a tenant after staying for 7 nights in a row. I do not want to give someone else tenant's rights to my home. I said that if Emery wants to stay longer, she can get a hotel for the remaining days, but she cannot afford that, and Austin does not want to pay for it. Austin said the one exception to this proposed rule would be Emery. I explained to him that's not an exception. It is obliterating the rule, because she's the reason why I proposed it in the first place. He said this is a non-negotiable for him, and there is no maximum for how long his mom can stay with us. He said those 16 days were the happiest he's been in 10 years. Am I the idiot for wanting to set a limit on that? It's our home, and I feel like we should compromise, but he will not budge. He is usually reasonable and understanding, but has tunnel vision when it comes to his mom. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. I'm sorry. She invited other guests without asking. She ignored you. He has never been happier. She can stay as long as she wants. You are not the main person in his life. It's time to tell him you're going to be looking for another place because he has made it clear who he values more. She will probably end up living with him, and he will be glad to see you go. Good luck. Comment 2, not the idiot. He has been very clear who comes first with him, and it's not you. Time to take a long, hard look at this relationship. Is this what you want? To be treated like crap in your own home? To always come second? To be in a relationship with someone who so clearly disregards your feelings? Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about the situation with my boyfriend Austin's mom, Emery, staying with us for an extended period. I wish I could say things have improved, but buckle up, because the drama has only escalated. After our last big argument, Austin and I had a brief period of calm. We tried to go back to our routine, but the tension was like a silent alarm that wouldn't stop ringing. I was still working from home, trying to keep my head down and focus on my job, but it was tough with the constant reminder of the unresolved guest issue. Then, out of nowhere, Emery announced she was planning another visit. This time, she wanted to stay for a month because she had some important business to take care of in our city. Austin was over the moon, but I felt like I was being pushed to the edge. I reminded him of our previous conversation about setting a guest limit, but he brushed it off, saying that his mom's situation was different. The injustice of it all was eating me alive. I couldn't believe Austin was dismissing our agreement and my feelings so easily. It was like our home had become Emery's personal hotel, and I was just the staff expected to accommodate her every whim. Emery's important business turned out to be a series of lunch dates and shopping trips with friends she hadn't seen in years. Meanwhile, I was juggling conference calls and deadlines in the next room. The lack of privacy and space was affecting my work, and I was at my wit's end. One day, while Austin was at work, Emery decided to reorganize our kitchen. She claimed it was a surprise to help us out, but it felt more like a territorial move. I came out of my makeshift office to find all my baking supplies shoved into the back of the highest cabinet, and her preferred brands taking center stage. It was a small thing, but it symbolized the larger issue at hand. I confronted Austin about it when he got home, and things got heated. He accused me of being ungrateful and not understanding his relationship with his mom. I shot back that he wasn't respecting me or our shared space. The argument ended with him storming out and spending the night at a friend's place. The next day, I thought things couldn't get worse, but they did. Emery had invited her friends over again without telling us. I came home from a rare day at the office to find a group of strangers in my living room. They were nice enough, but I was blindsided. I felt like I had no control over my own home. Austin returned later that evening, and we had another talk. This time, I laid it all out. I told him that while I understood his desire to make up for lost time with his mom, our relationship and my comfort in our home couldn't be sacrificed. I needed him to see that there had to be boundaries. He listened, but his solution was to suggest that maybe I could spend some time away from the apartment when his mom visits. I was floored. It was as if he was choosing his mom's comfort over mine in our own home. The final straw came when I overheard Emery on the phone with one of her friends. She was laughing about how she had me wrapped around her little finger and that she could stay as long as she liked because Austin wouldn't dare say no to her. I haven't confronted her about what I heard, but it confirmed my worst fears. Emery was manipulating the situation, and Austin was letting her. So here I am, 2 weeks later, still stuck in this mess. I'm trying to figure out my next move, but it's clear that something has to change. I love Austin, but I can't live like this. The disrespect and disregard for my feelings are too much to bear. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.